Hey everybody, this is Lord of the Jimmy, and now it's time for another installment of Jimmy's Rants! And today's rant, it's not really a rant, it's a movie review. I'm going to be talking about the movie Skyfall, the James Bond movie that just came out. I saw it last night, and before I give my review about Skyfall, I'm just going to give a brief history of my involvement with James Bond. I have seen all the movies. I've seen every single one. I even saw Never Say Never Again. I've read a couple of the books. I read Goldfinger. I think I read on Her Majesty's Secret Service. I think that was it. The first Bond movie I ever saw was GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan, and I love GoldenEye. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I also loved Tomorrow Never Dies. I liked Parts of the World Is Not Enough. I liked the beginning of Die Another Day, but I think those movies aren't as good. I love the Connery movies. Almost all the Connery movies. Roger Moore movies, not so much. And I do love On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I don't like George Lazenby, but it's a good movie. The Timothy Dalton movies, I don't remember the Timothy Dalton movies at all. I just remember in License to Kill, he kind of goes crazy, but I don't remember anything about him. As for the Daniel Craig movies, I really liked Casino Royale. I have to admit, I'm not the biggest Daniel Craig fan as James Bond. I love Daniel Craig. I feel like he should have won an Oscar for Defiance. But as James Bond, growing up watching Sean Connery and Pierce Brosnan, I feel like there's supposed to be this sort of suave sort of personality that James Bond has that I don't think Daniel Craig has. He's more like the Terminator. And in fact, a friend of mine who really loves the Daniel Craig movies, loved Skyfall, considers it the best James Bond movie of all time, which is a little premature for that, but he really loves Daniel Craig. And I know a lot of people love Daniel Craig. And in terms of just as a badass Bond, he is very good. I mean, he really kicks ass in some of those and in some of those action scenes, but just personality-wise, don't go for him as much. And I think it also had to do. I took my girlfriend to go to see it, and she's like, "Well, I like Pierce Brosnan better," and I think too. And believe me, I think Pierce Brosnan could kick some serious ass in his movies, but I don't know. There seems to be this kind of hatred for him right now, and maybe in the same way that there was kind of hatred for Roger Moore. Quantum of Solace, hated it. In fact, I don't remember anything about it. I saw the movie, I don't remember anything about it, so it's kind of like, all right. So anyway, going in to see Skyfall, I was told this is going to be the greatest James Bond movie ever. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be the best ever. And even from the get-go, I was just going like, yeah. It's not better than Goldfinger, better than From Russia with Love. Well, From Russia with Love actually isn't one of my favorites, but I can see why people would think it's the best. Better than Dr. No, better than GoldenEye, which, well, if you like the Daniel Craig movies, you probably don't like the Pierce Brosnan movies. And in fact, a friend of mine actually wrote, if you like the Roger Moore movies or you like the Pierce Brosnan movies, probably won't like Skyfall. Well, that's not for myself. I thought Skyfall was very good. I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was good, but it's not the best Bond movie. I've actually been working on a top 7 007 list, which I'm hopefully going to get out soon. It's not going to be on my list. Maybe eventually it will be like one of my favorite Bond movies, but as of right now, not my favorite. Now, I'm going to go through the movie. Spoiler alerts, okay? I'm going to spoil the movie if you haven't seen it. So, if you haven't seen the movie, just stop right here and just go see the movie and you can watch this review later. Go watch some of my other rants. But anyway, so as the movie begins, we have Daniel Craig. First of all, we don't have the gun barrel sequence that starts off every movie, which I was kind of missing. I'm like, why are we avoiding that and wait till the end to show it? But that's nitpicking. The opening sequence is spectacular. It's probably one of the best opening sequences in any James Bond movie. And I love the opening to GoldenEye. I love the opening to Tomorrow Never Dies. I even love the opening to Die Another Day and The World Is Not Enough. And even going as far back as Goldfinger. I also like You Only Live Twice. I love the opening sequence in Roger Moore one. I don't like any of Roger Moore's movies, even The Spy Who Loved Me, but I love that opening sequence where he's skiing and he jumps off and he has the parachute with the British flag. That was awesome. But I would say the opening in Skyfall, it rivals those other opening scenes. It's fantastic. Now, spoiler alert, Bond is shot by one of his fellow agents, who I'm going to get to in a minute. I'm sorry, I forget the girl's name who shoots him. She's a fellow agent, but I'm going to get to that in a second. So he's accidentally shot, and M, played by Judi Dench, which I love Judi Dench as M. I think she's probably been the best M out of anybody, even Bernard Lee, and I like Bernard Lee. But M just tells her, because she's like, well, Bond and the other guy are fighting on a train, and M says, just take the shot, and she accidentally hits Bond, and the other guy gets away. So then we get to the credit sequence. It's an Adele song, and I thought the song was pretty good. I mean, it's not the best, but it certainly wasn't Madonna. I mean, that was nice that it wasn't Madonna, but anyway, or Jack White. I hate Jack White. Anyway, so as it goes on, first of all, so we kind of got this You Only Live Twice kind of setup. We think Bond is dead. They have an obituary for him, which is kind of like how it is in You Only Live Twice. Except, whereas in You Only Live Twice, they're doing it for a reason. They pretend that Bond is dead so that he can hide from Spectre, and Spectre will be off his back and they won't deal with him. In this movie, it's just kind of like, yeah, we think he's dead, but he's actually alive. And it just seems kind of like there wasn't, like we thought he was dead, and now he's just kind of living somewhere, and, you know, I don't know, that was kind of weird for me. But anyway, so what's going on is this isn't your typical Bond story, by the way. This is not your typical bad guy wants world domination, and cue the Dr. Evil laugh. But it's a revenge story. It's kind of like From Russia with Love, and I should also mention, From Russia with Love, a lot of people actually say that's the best Bond movie. Not me. I like From Russia with Love, but it's just never really done it for me. I don't know why. I feel it's kind of boring, and I mean, it has some great moments. The scene when Robert Shaw and Bond are fighting on the train, I love that sequence, and there's some other good moments as well. But it's not my favorite. I prefer Dr. No. I prefer Goldfinger. I even prefer You Only Live Twice, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to question my sanity for that. But, you know, I'm eventually going to put out my top 7 movies, and you can see why I think of all those movies. Getting back to Skyfall. Where was I? Yeah, so it's a revenge story. Javier Bardem plays he was an MI6 agent, and I think he was forsaken in a Rambo kind of way, and he was tortured and just became a bad guy. Which is, you know, I think that's a cool idea. They kind of did a similar thing in GoldenEye, you know, well, sort of, you know, Bond has to fight another agent. I have to admit, to a better climax with the two of them in GoldenEye. But I'll get to that later. Javier Bardem as a bad guy, he's a very good bad guy. I mean, I love Javier Bardem. I mean, No Country for Old Men. He scared the bejesus out of me in that movie. He was awesome. And I think he's really good. There's a couple of weird scenes. Like, there's a scene where he's almost hitting on Bond, like, trying to feel him up and stuff. And Bond's like, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, this is the first time for everything. And Bond's like, what makes you think this is my first time? You know, that was a weird scene to me. It was kind of weird. But he is a very cool Bond villain. And as we're going on, you know, he wants to kill M because he thinks M sent him off to die, basically. And, you know, they got to the point, because Bond captures him, and then, you know, naturally he's going to escape, and they have to go find him, and he's disguising as a cop. And at one point I was watching the movie, and I thought, where have I seen this before? This isn't a Bond movie. This is The Dark Knight. This is the Batman movie, The Dark Knight. I mean, I was watching, I'm like, this reminds me of The Dark Knight. And I'm going to say this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you know this already. I do not like The Dark Knight. Do not like that movie at all. Yeah, there's parts of it that are good, but it is the most overrated movie of all time. But that's a rant for another time. And listen, if you guys want me to rant on why I think The Dark Knight is the most overrated movie of all time, I will gladly do so. But right now I want to talk about Skyfall. So yeah, I know they were inspired by The Dark Knight, but it just, to me, I was getting kind of bored in the middle of it. I'm like, oh god, here we go. And I don't know, there seems to be, now that I'm thinking about it, I just realized this. I think James Bond is more like Christian Bale's Batman than he is James Bond in this movie. There was a point where he finally says Bond, James Bond. He doesn't say it cool like Connery. He just says it. I felt like, now that I'm thinking about it, I think he might as well have just gone, Bond, James Bond, where's your younger? I don't know. It might as well have been that, because Bond is, I think he's very robotic in this film. Whereas in Casino Royale, I felt like he had kind of a sense of humor in Casino Royale. He played it more as I would expect Bond to be. And this, it's like, he's so robotic. It just, there's also no love story. Not really, there's no love story. That's, some people criticize Casino Royale for the love story. I actually liked it. I mean, it went on a little long, but I thought it brought more depth to the character. Everybody's, no, it's like, oh, this really gets into Bond's character and everything. Well, not really. Later on, we kind of get his character when they go back to Skyfall, where he grew up in Scotland and his parents lived. And that's all very good. And I don't think the only time they ever really mentioned Bond's parents was in GoldenEye, when Sean Bean says, your parents died in a climbing accident, which is actually one of my favorite scenes in the film. Sean Bean kicks ass in that movie. I'm sorry. I like Javier Bardem, and I like it a lot, but Sean Bean kicked fucking ass in that movie. He was awesome. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So, anyway, at this point, I'm kind of bored with the movie. I gotta mention this. Q. I didn't like Q in this movie. First of all, you're never going to replace Desmond Llewellyn. I thought in The World Is Not Enough, I was looking forward to seeing John Cleese take up the role, because I love John Cleese. I mean, the guy's one of the most brilliant, actors of all time. I mean, he's unbelievable. He is funny without really doing anything. But, you're never really going to replace Desmond Llewellyn. And the guy who takes up Q, I mean, I kind of got into him a little by the end, but at the very beginning, when they first introduced him and he's talking to Bond, I didn't like him. I really didn't. And there's this scene when he's giving 007 his equipment. He gives him a gun and he gives him a little radio transmitter. And that's it. And even Bond says, not exactly Christmas, is it? And he says, well, what did you expect? An exploding pen? We don't really do that anymore. There seemed to be this kind of breaking the fourth wall arrogance in that scene that really left a bad taste in my mouth. Because, they're talking about GoldenEye, the exploding pen in GoldenEye, which I thought was cool. And I really liked that, and it almost seemed like kind of a slap in the face to the Pierce Brosnan movies. I mean, they got rid of Pierce Brosnan. It's like they didn't want him. They want Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig's a god, and everything. And let's just forget that Pierce Brosnan ever happened. Whereas, a lot of us like Pierce Brosnan. I grew up watching Pierce Brosnan. I like him. And there's like this, we're doing a different Bond. We're doing a good Bond. We're not doing like this dumb Bond or whatever. Dumb blonde. I almost say dumb blonde. But, it bothered me for some reason. It really shouldn't have, but I couldn't get over that while I was watching the film. And, this whole idea of, there's no gadgets in this movie. We don't need gadgets. Gadgets are dumb. All the gadgets have, It's James Bond. James Bond has become known for the gadgets, you know? It's like, are we just going to erase 50 years of movies with gadgets really kind of being part of what James Bond does? You know, he has, and by the way, they're in the best movies. I mean, they were even in the books. You know, I mean, look, the car in Goldfinger, you know, that's a gadget. The briefcase in From Russia with Love, that's a gadget, you know? And okay, I'll give you some of the gadgets have been ridiculous. I mean, the invisible car in Die Another Day, yeah, that was stupid. But, you know, that's part of the fun. That's what I like in James Bond movies. I like it when he goes to Q's office and Q chews him out and they have, you know, that dynamic. Now it's a weird dynamic. It's different. Maybe I'll get used to it, but as right now, I don't like the way they've taken Q. I felt like they've taken sort of a comic relief sort of character and made him this weird nerd. You know, I realize Q's supposed to be a nerd, but I don't know. It was just weird to me, and I didn't really enjoy that aspect of the movie. And while I'm on the subject, I'll just get this out of the way right now. The girl agent who was helping him, she's the black girl who's who accidentally shot him. At the end of the film, you find out, and she retires from her field agent status, and you find out she's Moneypenny. Now, isn't Moneypenny supposed to be a secretary? I mean, that just seems so out of left field. It's like, really? That's Moneypenny? Because I thought that girl was cool. I thought, oh, maybe this girl will be like another Michelle Yeoh, Michelle Yeoh is one of my favorite Bond girls from Tomorrow Never Dies. She kicks ass in that movie, and I thought, yeah, let's get another, you know, cool female agent who can be kind of like his sidekick or whatever, or I don't know, just his fellow agent, whatever. And then she's Moneypenny. It's like, why? So anyway, where was I? Okay, so this whole Dark Knight revenge story is really starting to bother me, and I'm going, I don't care about this movie anymore until they save M, because Javier Bardem escapes and he tries to kill M, but Bond saves them, and Bond, she drives her over to a garage, and Bond opens the garage, and there's the Aston Martin from Goldfinger. And I was just like, hell yeah. Once that happened, and once the music came on, I was like, yeah! And the entire audience started applauding, and we were like, yeah, now it's James Bond. Now we're going to kick some ass. And so that's when the movie started getting much better for me. And then we went to Skyfall. I don't know if it's a ranch or an estate. I don't remember. And we see the caretaker. I think, was it Albert Collins who was playing him? I forget. I'm sorry. I can't remember right now. So I thought all that stuff was cool. You know, we get to really get into Bond's character a little more. But again, it's just, you know, I guess I get that, you know, Daniel Craig's playing him more cold and stuff. And probably, I'm sure, even Connery or a bunch of the other Bonds played the same. Well, maybe not Roger Moore, but, you know, Timothy Dalton, some of the other ones. So I thought that part was cool. Then it almost turns into Home Alone for a second. You know, Javier Bardem and his goons come in, and it's like they're booby trapping the place. It's kind of strange, but it is fun. It is very fun. It's fun to see M kick some ass. You know, it's like even in The World Is Not Enough, she didn't really do anything. So that part was cool. The problem, there was even a point when, okay, spoiler alert, I'm giving away the ending here, guys, okay? So, believe me when I say spoiler alert, okay? At the end, M's been hurt, and they're taking her to safety, but Javier Bardem finds them, and he's about to kill her until Bond kills him with a knife, and I think the Albert Collins character even said, you know, sometimes, you know, good old-fashioned knife is going to help you, and that was a cool scene. I really enjoyed that. And then M dies. Now, here's my problem with this. All of that, the entire point of all of everything they just did was to keep M safe from Javier Bardem. And because Javier Bardem was going to kill her. Well, she's dead, so none of that mattered. It's like, wait a minute. That means that none of the stuff that just happened had even mattered, because Javier Bardem got exactly what he wanted. It's like, what? And I'm sad to see M go, but I thought it would have been better if, like, M survived, but she just, she left MI6 or whatever. She, left a little more graciously rather than let's kill her off. I don't know. It just, I don't know. Something about it just didn't really get me. It was kind of weird. The guy, I forget what his role was, the Ralph Fiennes character, or Ralph Fiennes, I don't know how you pronounce his name. The Ralph character, has been kind of chewing her out the whole time, and, well, not quite chewing her out, but he becomes the new M, which I knew was going to happen. I knew Ralph Fiennes was going to be the new M. But I honestly, I really like that Ralph Fiennes as an actor, and I thought that was cool. I thought they set that up very well. So now they've set up Moneypenny, they've set up Q. Why they weren't in the first two movies, I don't know, But that's fine. Okay, we have our cast now, so now it's time to get ready for the next James Bond movie. So are we finally done setting up, I mean, it's like we set up Bond's character in Casino Royale. That was a great movie, and now it's taken 3 movies to finally get to the point where it's like, now we're back in business. And I don't know. And so by the end of it, I kind of was thinking, yeah, I liked it. It was a very good movie, but it's not the best James Bond movie. So I don't think it's the best James Bond movie, for the reasons I've just outlined. If it wasn't a James Bond movie, if it was like they called it the Secret Agent Man or just any other kind of movie, I would have said it was a very, very good movie. But because I am comparing it to all the other James Bond movies, some of which, may not be everybody's idea of what Bond is supposed to be, because Bond's supposed to be like the Terminator now or something, even though I like them. There's this, again, I've said there's this arrogance in the new Bond movies that I just don't like. That's in a lot of movies. This whole, we're going to do something different with this movie. And it's like, yeah. I don't know. It was kind of annoying to me. But aside from that, I mean, I got to honestly say the action was spectacular. And, Daniel Craig gave a good performance. I just didn't think he really seemed like Bond. And like I said, did I talk about... Yeah, I did talk about this. There was no love story. I mean, that's something that I just, like, Quantum of Solace, there was no love story at all. No, not really any sex scenes. There's, like, the one with, what's her name? Strawberry Fields? Which is a weird fucking name. I mean, James Bond movies certainly have their share of weird fucking names for the women, Pussy Galore, Xenia Onatopp, and so on and so forth. But, I mean, one of the reasons I really like On Her Majesty's Secret Service, although I don't like George Lazenby, I thought he sucked. Well, he didn't suck, he just wasn't very good. But the love story was great. I thought that was really good. And again, Skyfall is very similar to From Russia with Love. And again, From Russia with Love is just not one of my favorite movies. And the idea that, this is like a real Ian Fleming novel because it's gritty and it's he's bad and blah 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 blah. What? The books had gadgets and sex scenes, and Bond was suave and cool. It's like what? I don't know. There's this whole, I don't know. There's this kind of trend now of movies especially with the Batman movies, which again I'll rant about another time, where it's like we're gonna go back to the original, how the character was originally supposed to be, and we're gonna make it different. We're gonna make it dark. It's gonna, you know, and I certainly don't think Skyfall is as bad as The Dark Knight. I think it's a much better film, but it's just this trend of we're gonna make things different, we're gonna make things dark, and it's not gonna be fun or cheesy like the Avengers. Somebody had said to me, "How could you like the Avengers but you didn't like Batman?" I'm like, because the Avengers was fun. I enjoyed watching it. I didn't. You know what? I'm not gonna get started on the dark. Skyfall. I'm supposed to be talking about Skyfall. Yeah. So let me just wrap this up. Okay, Skyfall. I recommend the picture. It's a very good movie, and I recommend that you see it. It's very good. And it's probably one of the better Bond movies, I would say. I mean, it's certainly better than Quantum of Solace. That movie sucked ass. Um, I would say it's better than Die Another Day. I'd say it's better than uh, probably all of the Roger Moore movies. I mean, the only one that maybe kind of I don't remember all the Roger Moore movies. I remember the only one I really remember very well was The Spy Who Loved Me, and that one was kind of good, kind of not. Um, but I think it's a very good movie, so I would suggest you see it. But this whole "it's the best Bond movie ever," just take that down a notch, will you? Okay, it's not the best Bond movie ever. In about half a year, you're gonna watch it again, and you're gonna say it's a very good movie, but it's not as good as Goldfinger, or it's not as good as From Russia with Love, or anything like that. It's in a row of Bond movies. So and people are already putting this on the top of their top 10 lists. Like they got like the best Bond movies of all time, Skyfall, and then everything else. And it's like, okay, it's not the greatest Bond movie of all time, but it is a good movie. I recommend that you see it. Um, just keep. Well, actually, I hope you saw it because I just gave away everything about the film. But anyway, I'm working on a top 7007 list, which I'm going to be putting out soon. It's taken a long time to put together and edit and everything, and I've been busy, as I'm always busy. So keep your eyes open for that. Subscribe so you can see my list, and you'll see why I think these films are better. And I guess I will talk to you guys next time on Jimmy's Rants. Okay, and until then, the name is Jimmy, Lord of the Jimmy. I thought it was cool.